Hi, this is Katrina from Caddy Creations, and in today's tutorial we're going to be looking at creating our very own applique butterfly design. So what we're going to do is we're going to create not only the cutter files for it, but we're going to also create the embroidery stitch pattern too. So we've gone ahead and we've opened up our Creative Drawing Simple Cut software, and we're going to create a new project. So we're going to go next. Because we're creating an applique with the fabric cut as well as embroidery stitches to go over the top, we need to make sure that we've got the cut and embroidery selected. So next. Now this comes up and asks us what fabric we're using. So every time you click on that little embroidery icon on the previous page, you will get this one come up and it will ask you what type of fabric that you plan on stitching your project out on. So we're going to go standard normal, because that's a woven fabric. And we're going to go white as our background. So next. Okie dokie. So now we need to grab our artwork. So this is the artwork that you got in your little folder, and hopefully you've downloaded it onto your desktop. So we're going to go through and we're going to locate our artwork. So you come up here to where our artwork files are found, and I'm going to go over to desktop, and I've put mine in my digital artwork folder. I'm going to double click on that, and there it is, so Applique Butterfly. So we're going to select that, and we're going to come up here and we're going to open it. So the next step is you've got a couple of extra drop down menus here. We want our hoop. So because we're creating an embroidery project, it's going to ask us what size hoop we want to use. So for this project we used a 200 by 200. So this comes down to depending on what machine you have. So for this tutorial we worked with the Janome Memorycraft 11,000 Special Edition model, and we used a 200 by 200 hoop. So you just got to go through and locate your 200 by 200, which is there. That's a square hoop. And now it's asking us which cutter mat we're going to use. So depending on whether you've got a 15-inch or a 12-inch, you select which one's appropriate for your machine. And next. Okay, so now it comes up here and it asks us a couple of questions. It wants to know whether we want to open our image as a backdrop or trace. Now I do know that there's a lot of people out there that like to just trace the artwork. I don't tend to use the trace option because it doesn't give me a clear finished product. I prefer to have more control over where my stitches will go and where my cuts will be made. So I always set my artwork as a backdrop. So check that it's selected and finish. So now let's come in here. So we've got our image in, and you can see we've got our hoop in, and you can see that we've got our mat in as well. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to zoom in nice and close, like this, and we're going to create our first wing part here at the back. Okay, so we're going to go over to our icons that we use, and we're going to select our create outline shape. Now this is the one that I usually like to use. I find it easier to use than the others. They have more options there, but when it comes down to it, it's sort of a personal preference. So now that we've got that selected, we're going to come in here and we're going to start in at his body and just work our way out. So remembering that when we come to a corner, we need to hold our mouse down so it creates that nice sharp corner. So we're going to hold that down, 1, 2, 3, and back around again. And we're going to continue doing that until we get back to where we started. So when you get back to the beginning here, we go up here and we press rectangle, and that will finish that off. So once you've finished that off, it will then change to this like grid net fill pattern. So that's actually embroidery stitches. But for our project, we want to change that into an applique pattern. So while we've got that selected, so a little box, a rectangle around the outside, we're going to come over to our object properties and we're going to select applique. So you can see that that's now changed. We're going to come down here to where it says fabric trim, and we're going to change our fabric trim to a pre-cut. So what we're doing is we're telling the program that we want to pre-cut that with the Artistic Edge digital cutter. The next step is we're going to tell it what fabric we're going to be using. So we're going to be using our fabric back with our fusible webbing. Our next step is now we're going to change the colour. So we're going to change it to the colour that we want, similar to the colour of fabric that we're going to choose. For the purpose of the tutorial and the project that we created, we're going to change our butterfly's wing here to a dark blue. So let's have a look. Let's go indigo. So when we change the colour, you need to make sure that you click on the clear part here, which indicates the pencil, as well as coming down and selecting the bucket feature as well. Because what that does is that then allows you to open up these two options over in your object properties. So what we want to do now is we've created the cut file aspect of it, but we want to create a nice satin stitch around the outside for our embroidery stitch. So if you come over here to the pencil, and that's what that part indicates. So that's why you need to select both of them. You can see here that it's just a standard running stitch, so that's just like a standard straight stitch. But we're going to change it to our satin. So if you now zoom in, you'll see that there's this little satin stitch around the outside of your design. The other thing I'm going to do with this, and this is a personal preference thing, when I do my embroidery and I do embroidery applique, I like to have a stitch, when it stitches the fabric down, I like to have a zigzag stitch over the top. I just feel that it gives it a better finish and holds the fabric in place for you. So to change that setting, we come down here in our object properties to underlay, we click on our underlay, and you can see over here it says tacking. We're going to click out that, and these are all the different options that you have with your underlay to hold it in place. So we're going to go up to a zigzag stitch. And the other option here we've got as well is at the moment it's just set on a preset, so like the width of our satin stitch is just a preset stitch. I like to change mine, so up here in your outline that indicates how wide your outline stitch will be, so how wide your satin stitch will be. So we're going to take that up to 0.05 and then enter. So it's just a little bit bigger, you can see now, around there. And when we click off, you can see that we've got a nice clear wing there. The next step is we're going to go over and we're going to create this second wing. Okay, so we're doing exactly the same process. So we're coming up here, we're selecting now create our outline shape. And we're going to zoom in, scrolling on our mouse, starting close to the body, and we're going to follow him around until we get back to where we started. Now that we're back to where we started, you can see that it's changed color again. So we've completed that cut. We're then going to come up here again and we're going to go rectangle selection, and that will select the piece that we've just created. And you can see that it's in our net fill again. So we're going to come up here to the bucket and we're going to change it to an applique. We're going to go fabric trim to a pre-cut, and we're going to set our fabric with fusible webbing. Now that we've done that, we're going to come down and change the color. So we're going to come down and you'll see on the bottom row here this is the colours that you're using in the project already. So we're going to select that dark blue again on both sides. We're going to come up to our pencil and we're going to change it to a satin stitch with the underlay with the zigzag, and we're going to change our outline to 0.05. Now that we've finished the two smaller wing sets, we're going to come up and we're going to create that larger one now. So the reason why we've created these ones first and then this one over the top is to give your embroidery design some dimension. So we're going to come up here again, we're going to go create outline shape. We're going to start in here, we're going to just overlap those satin stitches. Follow it out all the way to the corner, fold it down, continue around to the other corner, and back into the body. Once we get into the body, we're going to hold that down and back to the start. There we go. So now that we're back to the start, you can see here when we created that last one, there's a bit of a curve there, and we're looking for a nice clean corner. So we're going to edit that. So we're going to come over here to our little group of icons. We're going to come up to the second one on the top here, which is Edit Shape Nodes. Click on that, and now you can see that you've got your little nodes back. So if you zoom in nice and close and click on the node that you want to edit, you'll see that it brings out two arrows on the side here. So if we bring that arrow closer into that node, you can see that it now changes there we go. And come back up here to finish it. You can see that now we've got a better, cleaner cut in that corner. Now that we've got it selected, we're going to go over and we're going to change it to our applique. We're going to set our fabric trim to pre-cut. We're going to set our fabric with backable fusible backable webbing. Bit tongue-tied this morning. So now that we've done that, we're going to change the colour. And for this tutorial, we're going to change it to an aqua. So you come down here, and if you hover over your colours, object properties, and we're going to set that to a satin stitch. We're going to set our underlay to a zigzag, and we're going to set our outline. We want aqua 0.05 and enter. There we go. So now we're going to come over here to the next one, and we're going to create our next wing. So come up to our toolbar, create outline shape, stick in here nice and close, and we're going to follow our wing out all the way out till we get to our corner. Hold our mouse down to create our corner, curve around, keep going all the way up, back into our body, and back to where we started. There we go. So we're going to edit that little one down there again. See how we've got that curve? So we're going to come up to our edit, click on the node we want to edit, and we're just going to drop that back in. Zoom down and tidy that one up too. A bit more. There we go. So once we're happy with that, we're going to go up to our rectangle selection. Select our rectangle selection. Come over to our object properties. Change it to an applique. Select our fabric trim pre-cut. We're going to change our fabric to our fabric with our fusible webbing. We're going to come down here and we're going to select the color. So you'll find down here, that's our color there, the darker one for the smaller wings, and then this is the one we used before. So we're going to set both of those like so. Come up to the pencil, change to our satin stitch, create our underlay with a zigzag, set our outline to 0.05, enter, and now we've got two sets. So you can see here that we've now got the two sets of wings. So we'll just move those around so we've got it centered, we can see. Okay, so you can see there we've got our two sets, but when you hover your mouse over, you can see that there's still pattern underneath, but we can't see it from our stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to now bring our artwork up above our stitches so we can keep working on our design. And to do that, we come up here to View, we select on View and we select on Backdrop, and you'll see here it says Below Embroidery, but we're going to change it to Above Embroidery. So now you can see that you've still got your design at the back here because you've got it in your sequence boxes over here, but we've now brought our design up the top so we can continue working on our pattern. So we're going to start on our little wings again. So we're going to come up to our toolbar, we're going to select Create Outline Shape, and we're going to zoom in here, and we're just going to create this inside one here, as you can see. So when we come in here, we're going to start, we're going to continue working around all the way out to the corner, hold it down, back again, to the other corner, hold our mouse down, back to the body, hold our mouse down, and back to where we started, and hold our mouse down. There we go. So now it's come up blue. You can see that we've finished. We're going to come up to our rectangle and select it. We're going to come over and we're going to change it to our applique. We're going to set our fabric trim. We're going to set our cutter preference. And we're going to change the color of this one to, let me have a look here. What color should we choose? There we go, pink. So now that we've got both of those selected, we're going to come up to our pencil, and this time we're going to do something a little different. We're going to leave it set on a running stitch, but we're going to change the stitch number to number 50. So I'm scroll through here until we find our 50. There we go. We're going to leave everything else down here as our factory settings. So now you'll see if we zoom in real close, under there you can see that there's actually little decorative stitches. So now we can go ahead and we can do our second small section of the wing. So we're going to come up to create our outline shape, go in and create a small section of our wing, down to the corner and back around. Back to the body, back to the beginning, hold it down, come up and press rectangle to complete, change it to an applique, select our fabric trim pre-cut, our fabric with webbing, choose our color, set our running stitch. There we go. So we've got those two done. You can see they're in our sequencing over here now. So you've got your bottom two, scroll up, top two, bottom two. So now our next section will be the inserts for the top ones. So we come over to our create outline again. We're going to zoom in and follow that line all the way out to the edge. Once we get to that corner, we're going to hold down our mouse, click around until we get to our other corner, hold the mouse down again, follow it back into the body, create that corner and back to the beginning. Okay. So now that we're back to the beginning, we're going to come up and we're going to press rectangle selection. We're going to come over, we're going to change it to an applique, set our fabric, trim to pre-cut, set our fabric. Now we're going to change the colour of this one. And we're going to change it to the fuchsia. So we're going to come down here and have a look, and we're going to find that colour. So we're going to go up and we're going to set our stitch for this one. And we are going to use running stitch number 19, which is this one here. So if we zoom in, you can see behind there that there's a bit of a decorative stitch coming up. So now that we've finished that one, we're going to come over and we're going to do the other side. So you come up, create outlines shape, zoom in, create the part that we want to make, bring it all the way out to the corner, hold down our mouse, and continue around to our next corner, hold the mouse down, back to the belly, continue the body there, and then back to the beginning. There we go. So we've got that one created. We're going to come up and we're going to rectangle selection to complete it. We're going to set it as an applique. We're going to set our fabric trim. We're going to set our cutter. We're going to change our colour. This one I think it is, yep. And we're going to select our stitch. Okay. So you should now have 4 sets of wings created, so 8 cutouts. Now we're going to just go in and check our design and see how it's going. So we're going to come up here to view. We're going to go backdrop and we're going to hide it. So now you can see that we've got our stitches. So if we come in nice and close, you can see that we've got our satin stitches on our back ones, and then on our smaller ones that we've just created, we've added a bit of a decorative touch to it. Okay, so we're going to turn that back off. So view, backdrop, we want to bring it above embroidery again. And the next step we have is we're going to create the body. We're going to come up here again to our toolbar and we're going to create our outline shape, and we're going to create our little butterfly's body. So when we do this, we want to come down through here to the, try that again. Come down through here to the corner and then back up to the top. When we get back up to the top, we're going to come around his head here. Okay, so we're going to start up here and work our way down all the way to the bottom. So when we create his bottom here, we're going to put one here, one there, and one there. So that will give us that little curve. And then back up again. When we get back up to the top here, we want a nice sharp corner, so we're going to hold it down and then we're going to curve in. and back to the beginning. So we've done that. We're going to come over here to our rectangle. We're going to select our rectangle. We're going to go over and change it to an applique. We're going to set it as a pre-cut, set our fabric, and we're going to change our colour back here. Now we're going to go through and we're going to select a satin stitch again, change our underlay and change our outline. Now we're going to create the antennae on our little butterfly. And in the past what we've done is we've wanted to create cuts, but this time we just want to create a decorative stitch. So the process is a little bit the same, but different at the same time. Okay, so what we do for that is we come up here and we create our outline, but this time we're just going to create a line. So we always use our left click with our mouse and we create that. So we're going to just follow the antennae around down to the top of the head and back out again. When we get back out to the end, because we're not meeting up with that first node again, we're going to press right click on our mouse. So now you can see that that's completed that line. So we're going to come up to our rectangle, we're going to select it. We want to just make sure that we've got the brown selected in the pencil this time, because we're not creating a cut file, so we don't need the bucket. So the bucket's more to set the fabric and the cut of an applique, whereas the pencil's the actual stitch type of it. And we're going to select stitch number 39. There we go. So you can now see that we've created little antennae, our decorative stitches. So the next step now is to create the round head to go over there. So we want to cover with an applique the top of that bit there and that bit there. Instead of selecting our create our outline shape, this time we're going to go down to the one below it, and you'll see that there's a little arrow on the point. So if you click out that and hold it down, you'll see that these are different shapes that you can create. So we're going to select the circle, and to create the circle you need to click a place and hold down your mouse, and you want to drag it down on an angle like so until you've got a circle the size that you want. Okay, so you can see that it's not quite in the place that we want it, but that's okay, we can move that into place. So once we've created the size of the circle we want, we're going to come up and we're going to press our rectangle to finish it, hover the mouse over, and you can drag it into place. So you can see there that it's still a little bit too small, so we're just going to come up here and drag it out, holding our mouse down until we've got it to a size that we want. So once we're happy with our sizing, we can go over and we can change it to an applique because we want to create it as an applique. We're going to set our fabric trim to pre-cut. We're going to set our cutter preference. We're going to come down and we're going to change it to our brown that sits with our body. And we're going to set it as our satin stitch again. So satin stitch, underlay, zigzag, outline, 0.5 and enter. So now if we come up to view again and select backdrop and we're going to hide, you'll now see that we've got our base of our butterfly. And to finish off our pattern, we're just going to add a couple of circles in here. So we're going to come over to our circle tool again. We're going to zoom in down here. We're going to create our circle to the size that we want. come up to rectangle selection to finish it, select it as an applique, select it as a fabric pre-cut, and set our cutter, and we're going to change the color, and we're going to change our color to a green yellow. So we're going to go through here until we find our green yellow and select green yellow. So go up and select the pencil, and this time we're going to change it to a running stitch, but we're going to change it to number 20. There we go. So now we want to create the identical circle to go on the other side. So you could go through that process and create another circle again and go through and make sure that it's completely exactly the same size, or while we have it selected, we can come up here to our toolbar, we can copy and paste. So when it copies and pastes, it will copy and paste directly over the one that you've got selected. So to see whether it worked, you can see in the sequencing drawers here that you've got now 2, so 12 and 13 are identical. So hover your mouse over until you get those little 4 triangles, pick up your circle and drag it over to where you want to place it. So once you're happy with that, we're now going to create the circles on the larger wings. So we're going to repeat that process. We'll create the circle like so. Come up and select rectangle to complete it. You can see it's in the sequence box. We're going to come over and change it to an applique. We're going to set our fabric trim to pre-cut. We're going to set our cutter. We're going to change the color. And this time, for our stitch, we're going to choose running stitch chain, which is up the top here. So once you've got that and you're happy with it, we're going to copy, paste, and oh, no, we didn't want to do that. Okay, so you can see there that I missed it. So we're going to come up here and undo, so it goes back to our size, and we're going to pick it up again. There we go. Okay, so let's have a look. So there are all the cutter pieces and the design stitches that we've created for our project. You can see here with the artwork that we're working on that it's a little bit bigger than our hoop, so it doesn't actually fit in our hoop. So the last step we're going to do is we're going to come up here to edit. We're going to go select all, and we're going to drop our width down to 7.5 inches, and now you'll see that it fits into our 200 by 200 hoop perfectly. So you can go ahead and save the design. So File, Save As, because you always want to save it, and we're going to name it as our Applique Butterfly. Now that we've saved it, we can go through and we can export it to our editor, so we can just make those final adjustments on the stitches. Because you've got to remember that creating your stitches in the Creative Drawings Wing software, it's a sort of a auto type stitch format. So you've always got to remember that you've got to go back and just edit those little tweaks to make sure you've got a perfect stitch. Now that we've got our pattern opened up into my editor, we're going to come up here to View, and we're going to change to our 3D preview. So now all you can see is our stitches that we've got up here. So you can see there's a few jump stitches that need to be adjusted. So if you come over here to the list, we're going to go Edit Stitches on the icon. We're going to zoom in nice and close, pick up those loose nodes, and if you just delete with your keyboard, it will then bounce them back. Okay, so we're going to go through until we've adjusted. Once you've gone through and you've adjusted any of those stitches that we don't need, we're now going to go up and we're going to save it. So we go File, Save As, and when we save it, we want to save it as the NGS file to start with. We're just going to go Save. So that keeps your original design for you. Then if you've ready to send it over to your USB so you can stitch it out, we go up to File, we go to Export, and export to 12,000, and that will send it through to a USB for you, so you can use as an embroidery stitch out. So that ends today's tutorial. If you've got any information, want to learn any more information in regards to the cutter, you're more than welcome to pop onto the website and have a look at the other tutorials we have available. So pop over to www.caddycreations.com and have a look. Thank you.